When people tell you to buy low and sell high, they're typically referring to buying an asset at one point in time and holding on to that asset to some point in the future where the price goes up. But there's also another strategy of buying low and selling high, where you buy one asset on one financial market and then turn around and sell that exact same financial asset on a different market to realize a profit based on the differences that the asset is trading on one market versus the other. This is something known as arbitrage, and although arbitrage has been around basically forever, recent developments in blockchain technology and smart contracts make this process more efficient, magnify the potential for gains, and reduce risk through something known as flash loans. If you've never heard of flash loans or arbitrage in general, then this is definitely a video you're going to want to watch. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video we're going to be talking about arbitrage and flash loans. Now, anytime we talk about something remotely related to finance, I do like to give the disclaimer that this is not financial advice. Rather, I'm explaining a concept that's really unique to cryptocurrency and showing how it differs from traditional financial markets. So with that being said, I'd like to start off today's video by explaining the concept of arbitrage in general, what it does, how it works, why it works, and then build up from that understanding to understand why flash loans and cryptocurrencies are so unique in this regard. So first off, what is arbitrage? Well, according to Investopedia, arbitrage is the simultaneous purchase and sale of the same asset in different markets in order to profit from tiny differences in the asset's listed price. So let's think about this not in terms of cryptocurrency or stocks or foreign exchange. Let's just think back in history, right? Go way back in time to Europe, where there's not a lot of spices, right? And all of these explorers, they're willing to go on these crazy voyages, sail around the world just so they can buy these spices in different countries where the price is low and then bring them back to sell in Europe. The whole reason they're doing this is because they know they can buy these spices relatively cheaply in other countries, and then they're going to make this hazardous voyage and they're going to come back and sell those same spices, assets, in Europe where the price is much, much higher. So this concept of arbitrage is really nothing new, but specifically let's think about it on a cryptocurrency example. Let's suppose here that we have the opportunity on, this is SushiSwap, to buy one Ethereum token for $1,195.80. Now, if we were traditionally buying low and selling high, we would purchase this one ETH and we would just hold on to it. Maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, we would hope the price goes up and we would possibly sell it for a profit. That's traditional buy and hold. But where arbitrage is different is that we're not relying on time as our profit generator. We are relying on inefficiencies between two markets. So let's suppose now that we have a second decentralized exchange called Uniswap. And here we can exchange one Ethereum for $1,196.81. In other words, there is a $1.01 difference between what we can sell Ethereum for on one market versus the other market. And the wheels are probably already turning in your head and you're saying, hey, I don't have to hold Ethereum for 5 years and hope that the price goes up. I can realize a profit today if I buy it on the one market and then immediately turn around and sell it on the other market. And that's exactly what I want you to think of when we think of arbitrage. What we're doing is we're not holding on to an asset for a long period of time. It's a very quick transaction. We're still buying low and selling high, but we're not relying on time. Rather, we are relying on different marketplaces. Now, although this sounds great in theory, there are a couple risks. Number one, especially in terms of cryptocurrencies, we have gas fees. So if you've operated on a cryptocurrency blockchain, you know you have to pay these transaction fees. Right now, it looks like it's about $5.30 for a swap. So we'd have to do one swap on SushiSwap to get that Ethereum and then another on Uniswap to sell. So we're looking at about $11 in fees to make $1.01 profit. So not really very appealing. Also, there's minimal profit. We're going to have to do basically an $1,100 transaction to realize a $1 profit. So again, our profit margin there is very, very small. Well, non-existent because of the transaction fees. But even without the transaction fees, we're not really making a whole lot for going through all that work. And then lastly, possibly the biggest thing is market movement. What we see here is that it's entirely possible that the market could move between we get the Ethereum on one marketplace and then we go to sell it. We've got to log in. We've got to do all these things. Maybe we buy it for $1,100 and we're thinking we're going to sell it for $1,101. But by the time we move over and do everything manually, the price has decreased to where there no longer is an arbitrage opportunity. So what we would like is something that can mitigate these risks. Something that can kind of mitigate the gas fees, something that increases the profit, and then something that kind of allows us to avoid that market movement. So this is where flash loans come into play. And flash loans are something that is unique to cryptocurrency, unique to blockchains, specifically because of smart contracts. So simply put, this is, I think, from Cointelegraph is where I got this. Simply put, in a flash loan, funds are borrowed and returned within seconds and in a single transaction. So think, again, we're doing this manually. We're purchasing on one cryptocurrency exchange. It comes into our wallet. We're trying to sell it on another exchange. That is not how flash loans work. With flash loans, what we do is we basically write a program that says, I'm going to borrow this. I'm going to send it to this exchange. I'm going to sell it on this exchange, and then I'm going to return these funds to the original borrower. So what we're doing is all of those steps that we talked about. I'm going to buy, or I'm going to trade on SushiSwap. I'm going to exchange on Uniswap, and then I'm going to return the profits to my wallet. We are coding all of that into one smart contract. Now, within that smart contract, it's kind of an all or nothing execution. So in other words, if any of those steps fail, the entire transaction does not go through. So that leads to a number of interesting possibilities. Number one, it allows us to borrow large amounts of money. Because it is an all or nothing transaction, what this means is that if we don't realize a profit, if one of those transactions doesn't go through, the people that we borrowed our money from, it never gets borrowed away from them because everything happens in a single transaction block. So think about blockchains. We have all these blocks. They represent different transactions. We are borrowing, exchanging, and repaying all of this money within a single block. So there's no chance of us borrowing the money and then exchanging it and it doesn't work and the people don't get their money back. So since there's such little risk of this happening, we don't need a lot of collateral, right? Or in some cases, we might not need any collateral because again, if any of these steps of our plan fails, the entire transaction is null and void. So this leads to a couple interesting scenarios. Number one, we don't need a lot of collateral. Number two, we can take out massive loans. And number three, this all happens instantly. So let's go back here to some of these risks and see how flash loans mitigate that. Number one, we've got gas fees. Here's the cool thing. If we are doing, again, that one Ethereum transaction for a $1.01 profit, we're going to pay $5.30 times 2, so $11 for our gas fees. Now, if we're doing 100 Ethereum transaction or 1,000 Ethereum transaction, we're still paying the same gas fees. So the gas fee itself remains constant, but the volume of our transaction, instead of making $1 in profit, now we're making $10,000 in profit. Well, that $11 gas fee kind of falls off our radar. Secondly, the minimal profit. Again, we're still making that $1.01 per coin, but now that we're doing 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 coins, our profit is also 100 or 1,000 or $10,000. And then lastly, the market movement. Because we're doing this all in a single transaction, we don't have to worry about, well, Ethereum was on this market one price and then it moved because we're doing everything within the same transaction. And then on top of that, the fees for doing this can be quite low. So if you remember, I said we might not necessarily need collateral, but we would have to pay a 0.09% fee, to the people that we borrowed from. And that's kind of to compensate them for lending us that money. Keep in mind that 0.09% fee is going to vary depending on what flash loan provider you're using. I think this one I got from aave. So just to use an example of how this would work, there's a lot of different things we can do with flash loans. Number one, we can do arbitrage, we can do collateral swaps, we can do a lot of different things, but here is one example. Someone is going to borrow DAI, which is one type of a cryptocurrency. It's a stable coin that maintains a value of approximately $1. They're going to pay back part of that debt. So they're borrowing money. They're paying back part of what they borrowed. They're withdrawing some Ethereum. They're converting that DAI, and then they're paying back. And they're doing this all within a single transaction. So that's the big thing I want you to think of when we talk about flash loans, right? So let's go back, review everything. Arbitrage is making a profit by buying low and selling high, but we're not doing that across time. We are instead keeping the time horizon basically the same, but buying low and selling high across different financial markets. The risks of that is that the price of the assets will move. The risk is that we don't have a lot of money available to do this. So what flash loans do is they allow us to do multiple transactions in a single request. They allow us to borrow much larger amounts of money and to do this instantly. So flash loans magnify the opportunities from traditional arbitrage. And I hope this video helped you understand a little bit more about arbitrage in general, but specifically the role that flash loans and smart contracts play within arbitrage in the cryptocurrency space. Now, we definitely didn't cover everything. There's a lot more you can do with flash loans, and there's also more risks you need to be aware of, right? So things like perhaps slippage on exchanges, things like that. Again, this isn't a tutorial video, so I'm not going to go into everything, but it should give you a general idea of what traditional arbitrage is and then how flash loans kind of magnify the opportunities associated with that. So as always, I'd like to thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you next time.